Hi, and welcome to a talk on the delicate disadvantage of reverse engineering for OSFC 2020. So, a little bit of background about me. I started reverse engineering back in 1995. I started with NMBD, the Network Neighborhood, and that was for Samba and TNG. And after successfully doing Network Neighborhood, I moved on to the MSRPC services, and with help from Paul Ashton, we announced the first successful joining of Samba TNG to a Windows NT primary domain controller with the "Welcome to the Samba domain" message. 3 years later, there had been about 150,000 lines of code added to Samba, and it comprised 40% of the copyrighted material in the code. And the antitrust case against Microsoft was both the EU and the US were based on this work. Personally, it didn't go very well. I was employed by Internet Security Systems because of the security implications. So this went as far as making vast sums of money were concerned for this work, which companies other companies like Network Appliances, etc. Say Unisys had their own CIFS product, etc. Relative to the amounts that they made, I made pittance. 2002, I decided to branch out into FreeDCE to make it MSRPC compatible, and use that for the basis of reverse engineering, because the original work in Samba was literally from scratch an MSRPC implementation. This work was tracked and copied by an open team who removed all attribution of the fact that the knowledge that they were getting was from, well, me. So again, I made no money. From 2003 to 2005, I worked on something called the Xanadux project, because again, it was an interest me to do reverse engineering. I wanted to put Linux onto smartphones, and these were all Wince smartphones. So 9 HTC smartphones I reverse engineered. The source code is still available. The products are of no interest to anybody other than the people who liked them, because of course 2006, 2007 Android came out. Now, to give you some idea, the fastest one that I managed to do was about 3 weeks, but I hit for the interrupts. I hit a snag that then took a further 8 weeks to try and to fail to find the one bit that would actually get it to come up after sleep, out of sleep mode. 18 months later, one of them was still the NAND flash chip has still not been reverse engineered by other people who carried on. The lesson here was that everyone else was making money from my work. All right. So, yeah. So I stopped doing reverse engineering, but that didn't stop me from analyzing how come I could do this but other people couldn't. What capability did I have that others did not? And so that led me on to a series of analysis. What is reverse engineering? And reverse engineering is the ability to infer knowledge, and that's it. right? No prior knowledge of the black box that you're looking at is required. You derive the knowledge. So then that led me on to go and analyze what are the definitions of knowledge. So the definition of knowledge should be a clue there. I first looked at Dempsey-Schaeffer theory, which is a generalization of Bayes' theorem. You can look it up, but the most useful one was epistemology. And a friend of mine pointed me at something called Advaita Vedanta, I think. So I looked at this thing, and actually, to be honest, the page that was from 10 years ago is much better and much clearer definition of the epistemology categories. They are basically perception, inference, comparison or analogy, postulation, non-perception or negative proof, and the least for one is in this context is testimony relying on word or past testimony of past present reliable experts, i.e. not Wikipedia. Whilst it seems that perception is not useful in that it would include the 5 senses, touch, taste, smell, everything. The most useful one is that it also includes intuition. And intuition is an extremely valuable source of knowledge, right? Especially to an engineer. You have it's a hypothesis. You surmise, you intuit a hypothesis of what is inside the box, and you then go set about actually to test that. Right? Inference, where there's smoke, there's fire. You derive knowledge by inferring things, and that is your core, fundamental, critically important thing when you do reverse engineering. Comparison analogy, you compare your model to what's in the box. A is to B and C is to D, but also included here is difference between two things. You compare two things using analogies. I think, or the comparison of what's in the box to what's not a thing. You throw something at the box, you throw something slightly different from at the box, 1 bit difference in the input, and look for the comparison of the output. Okay, all right. Postulation, derivation from circumstances. The example that was brilliant from 10 years ago, they've removed it and replaced it with a politically correct one, which actually has a weakness in it, which is pointed out in the Wikipedia page. You can read out. The example that was given 10 years ago was Joe is gaining weight. We do not see Joe eat during the day. Therefore, Joe is eating at night. You derive from the observations an inference in a transitive fashion. The other most useful one, non-perception, negative cognitive proof. There is no jug in this room. Is itself useful information which can be used later. Interestingly, artificial intelligence, AI, CNNs, convolutions are incapable of negative cognitive proofs. And relying on word testimony of past present experts, if you can obtain some PDFs containing the information about the thing, then you assume that these are reliable information thing, and you can use that. You don't have to reverse engineer the PDFs, the specs, etc., specification documents, technical reference manuals, etc. You can assume that they're reliable. Now, so all of this sounds perfectly obvious when you look at it, but you may not have actually considered these yourself to have these skills. And I tell you, they are incredibly valuable. Right? Majority of reverse engineers develop these knowledge derivation skills without even knowing or realizing that they have them. Right? The last time that many of you would have used these zero knowledge skills is when you were a small child or a baby learning how to interact with the world. Right? And that's the majority of people, the last time that they do zero knowledge inference. Okay, right, to a massive extent. Right. So, why do products need reverse engineering in the first place? The usual reasons are the profit maximizing corporation can't be bothered to provide documentation or source code. Number two, the profit maximizing corporation is based in China and is happy to blatantly disregard copyright law, usually the GPL. Three, the profit maximizing corporation could be bothered but has realized they make more money through entrapment of end users by not providing them with the source code. The bottom line is here that helping such corporations helps keep their products in circulation, and their purchase of their products supports that unethical entrapment. By logical inference, reverse engineers, by applying their amazing skills, actively support unethical and pathological corporations to do harm to end users and to the environment, because they are supporting these companies to develop products, sale of products, which are going to end up in landfill. Can you tell I'm not happy? Right? So how about an alternative? You have unbelievably empowering and powerful skills, far beyond those of an average programmer. All right? With that comes a responsibility. So instead of supporting unethical corporations, why not support yourselves? Why not support yourselves? You could transition from full-time to part-time employment or work evenings. You could create your own products. You're a reverse engineer. You don't need somebody to tell you how the products work. You can work them out. You've done enough reverse engineering to know how to design products. And what you don't know, you know for a fact that you can work to find out. You are not limited in the normal fashion as the normal people of, oh, it's not in my skill set, therefore I can't do it. You can find out. So you could design a product and you could put it on crowd supply, right? You could get on Patreon and you could, I think there's a whole stack of things to do. And if you consider that it's not within your ability, you'd like some help, well, the internet exists. You can find others to team up with in an area of technology that interests you. Ultimately, then, you could do a huge amount of good. And with your skill, there is nothing that can stop you except yourself. Thank you very much for listening.